Sir, please step away from the car now. Prestige Motors isn't for people like you.
Susan, the powerful manager at Prestige Motors, spoke clipboard clutched in her hand, her heels clicking against the marble floor. In Scottsdale, Arizona, the afternoon outside was blistering, while inside the showroom, the air was cold with air conditioning. The scent of new leather and car wax lingered. Under brilliant white lights, the cars gleamed like mirrors. The chatter behind the glass suddenly fell silent. A man in a hoodie stepped onto the tiled floor. Glances flicked his way, quick, judgmental. Here we only serve clients who have already been financially pre-approved. Susan set her tone sharp as she angled her body as if to usher him out. He asked to see the owner. Susan gave a thin smile. The owner doesn't have time for trivial visits. Underscore. Underscore, 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 underscore. His name was Daryl Carter. He had arrived in an old SUV, dressed simply, his gaze composed. Today he was an outsider in their eyes, yet also the true owner no one expected. A plain hoodie, a lavish showroom, and a reveal that would leave everyone stunned. What happens when a dealership manager misjudges the very man who is secretly the owner of it all? Afternoon light poured over Scottsdale, Arizona, a place famous for its searing sun and luxury resorts. Daryl drove his old SUV into the parking lot of Prestige Motors, a dealership he had recently acquired. Outside, the supercars gleamed in the sun like jewels. He chose a space tucked away and back out of sight, then stepped out at an unhurried pace. Nothing in his outfit suggested authority, a faded gray hoodie, plain jeans, everyday sneakers. But all of it was intentional. Daryl wanted to see this place's true face, how the staff behaved when they assumed a walk-in was just an ordinary customer. As he pushed through the glass doors, a blast of cold air hit his face, carrying the smell of real leather and fresh polish. Under the blazing showroom lights, luxury cars stood in rows, glossy as mirrors. The group at reception paused mid-conversation. Eyes skimmed his simple clothes, then traded puzzled looks. Daryl knew that look well, quiet, precise judgment. From the far side of the showroom, Susan appeared a middle-aged woman with angular features and blade-sharp eyes. Her tailored suit and high heels struck a steady clack-clack on the polished stone. In her hand, a clipboard, the emblem of power and control. "Excuse me, may I help you?" Her voice was proper-edged with chill. Daryl smiled calmly. "I'm just looking around." He gestured toward the cars. Her eyes swept him from head to toe. The polite smile thinned into a faint crease of displeasure. "Are you planning to purchase a car?" Her voice pressed down, skeptical from the start. Daryl kept smiling. "Something like that." Susan pressed her lips together. "We serve a very exclusive clientele. Most of our vehicles require financial pre-approval. Perhaps I could suggest—" Before she finished, another employee called out, "Susan, the delivery's here." She flickered, distracted, then quickly turned back as if afraid he might do something improper. He raised an eyebrow. "Are you assuming I don't qualify?" Susan hesitated for a blink, then forced a smile. "I'm only trying to save you time. These cars start in the six figures." "Perhaps." Daryl's face didn't change. Inside, he logged every word, every look. The arrogance behind the polite veneer, he'd seen it too often. He stepped to a bright silver coupe with bold lines, resting his hand lightly on the handle. "Beautiful car," he said. Susan frowned, then pasted on a smile. "Yes, but if you're truly interested, we'll need to book a private consultation. Sir, please step away from the car. Prestige Motors isn't for people like you." The words cut the air like a blade. Daryl slowly let go, stood straight, tucked his hands in his pockets, and met her eyes. "All right, then suggest something. What kind of car should I choose?" The bluntness caught her off guard. Irritation flickered. "Perhaps you should consider older, more practical models." Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial murmur. "Prestige Motors isn't for everyone. I just don't want you to waste your time." Daryl nodded lightly, the smile still there, his eyes turning cold. The small experiment was already revealing more than enough. Today would be interesting. And what makes you so certain I'm not your target customer? His tone was even his gaze knife-sharp. Susan faltered for a heartbeat, then steadied herself. I've worked this job a long time. I know when someone is reaching beyond their means. Beyond their means, Darryl repeated voice level as if turning the words over. Doubt flickered in Susan's eyes, but she pressed on. I'm being honest. Better to be clear now than to let you leave disappointed. Darryl chuckled softly, a light shake of his head. Honesty. I appreciate honesty. Then arrange for me to meet the owner here. Can you do that? For the first time, genuine surprise broke through. The owner, yes. Darryl said lightly, almost offhand. I'd like to speak with them directly. Her smile puckered awkward. The owner doesn't drop by for chit-chat. They're very busy. I'm sure they are. Darryl nodded. But you can call. I think they'll want to meet me. Impatience crept into Susan's voice. Sir, I'm being as polite as possible. This is ridiculous. I have other clients. If you're serious, we can book you with a consultant. If not what? Darryl tilted his head. His tone stayed calm but carried weight. She drew in a breath, eyes narrowing. If not, I'll have to ask you to leave. The showroom seemed to freeze. Darryl said nothing, only looked at her. Then he slowly took out his phone. All right, he said, scrolling. I'll call the owner myself. Susan frowned, flustered. What are you doing calling the owner? Darryl replied, raising the phone to his ear. It won't take long. Whispers spread as employees paused to watch. Darryl lifted a finger. One moment turned slightly and spoke into the phone. Yes, it's me. I'm at the dealership. Nothing serious, just a misunderstanding. Let them know I'm waiting. He hung up, slipped the phone into his pocket, and looked back at Susan. They'll be here shortly. Susan stood stunned, mouth opening and closing. Who? Did you just call? Darryl didn't answer. He surveyed the room, eyes passing over each employee, then smiled. Let's wait and see. The tension was taut as wire. Susan hunched over her clipboard, hands trembling, every motion stiff. Darryl stood arms folded beside a luxury SUV, unbothered. A few minutes passed. The main doors swung open. A man in a navy suit strode in, shoes tapping a crisp rhythm on the floor. His face was stern, but his eyes lit when he saw Darryl. Mr. Carter. He beamed, moving in for a handshake. So good to see you. Darryl clasped his hand, the corner of his mouth lifting. Thanks for coming, Alex. I appreciate it. The room went dead quiet. Susan nearly dropped her clipboard, eyes darting between Darryl and Alex, the regional director. Wait, Carter? She stammered. Alex turned to her, his smile gone, voice cool and professional. Susan, it appears you've met Mr. Carter, the new owner of this dealership. Color drained from Susan's face. I didn't know. You didn't know someone like me could own this place? Darryl cut in his tone, gentle, but ringing in the hush. I didn't mean. Darryl raised a hand. It's all right, Susan. But be honest, if I weren't the owner, would you have treated me differently? Would you have given me the respect you give a man in a suit? Silence. It said enough. Darryl nodded and turned to Alex. Bring the staff to the conference room. It's time we talked about how this place operates. Today, the air inside the glass-walled conference room felt stifling. Susan sat in the back row. The sharpness of her usual expression had given way to tension and unease. Darryl stood at the head of the table, calm and commanding, his gaze drawing every eye. Alex folded his arms by the door, unreadable, watching as the team took their seats. The murmur dwindled as Darryl began. Thank you for coming on short notice. I'm Darryl Carter. Since last month, I've been the new owner of Prestige Motors. A ripple of surprise swept the room. Eyes widened, some embarrassed. Susan kept her head down. I dressed plainly today on purpose. He continued, steady. I wanted to see how this place runs when no one knows who I am, to experience what an ordinary customer feels walking in. He paused, letting it settle. And what I experienced was disappointing. I wasn't judged by my ability or worth, but by appearance. This isn't just about me. It's a cultural issue in this dealership. His gaze passed over Susan, then returned to the room. Anyone who walks through these doors, whether in a suit or a hoodie, can be a customer. More importantly, they're a human being. Everyone deserves respect. A young employee raised a timid hand. Mr. Carter, most of us try to be fair, but sometimes it's hard not to judge by looks. Darryl nodded thoughtfully. I understand. We all have biases, sometime unconscious, but that's not enough. We must choose to rise above them. Not just fairness, we must build an environment where anyone feels respected. He lowered his voice, emphasizing each word. Prestige Motors is known for high-end cars. But true prestige isn't only in the product, it's in the experience we provide. From today, that experience will rest on respect, fairness, and inclusion. Heads nodded around the room. Darryl's eyes settled on Susan, who sat as if turned to stone. Susan, he called gentle but firm. I want to hear from you. All eyes shifted. Susan drew a deep breath. Her voice trembled. I was wrong. I misjudged you, and I'm truly sorry. Darryl nodded, expression neutral. Thank you for admitting it. But this isn't only your lesson. It's a reminder for all of us. Change begins with accountability. He faced the room again. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps give light to voices that deserve to be seen and heard. We'll launch new training to ensure this dealership reflects the values I believe in. Every customer deserves dignity. No exceptions. The room fell silent. Only the faint hum of the AC remained. The quiet stretched long enough for the weight of his words to sink in. Good, Darryl said at last, voice resolute. I'm glad we're aligned. Change isn't easy, but it's necessary. From today, Prestige Motors will be a standard bearer. He leaned forward, hands resting lightly on the table. I didn't come to humiliate anyone. I came to understand the culture I've inherited and how to improve it. Susan, you're experienced. I believe you've worked hard for years. But today's a wake-up call, not only for you, for everyone. Susan looked up, eyes red. I understand. I was wrong. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Darryl inclined his head. I believe in second chances, but chances come with responsibility. I'll meet with you privately to discuss next steps. For now, let's focus on the future. He scanned the room, voice ringing clear. We don't just sell cars, we build trust relationships and a standard of excellence. If you're ready to walk that path with me, I'll walk it with you. This time the murmurs were firm and sincere. Even Alex gave a small nod. Darryl smiled, both relieved and determined. All right, back to work. Remember, how we treat people matters more than anything we sell. The staff rose one by one. The earlier heaviness gave way to something new, hope. Susan lingered at the door, then stepped toward Darryl, voice low. Mr. Carter, thank you for giving me a chance. I won't let you down. Darryl met her eyes, voice steady. I hope so, Susan. Words only matter when followed by action, but I believe people can change if they truly want to. Susan nodded, resolve bright in her eyes. As she left, Darryl turned to Alex. Next week, schedule an all hands. I want everyone clear on my expectations. Alex smiled, respect evident. You got it, boss. Darryl stepped out of the conference room. Evening light poured through the large panes, reflecting off the line of gleaming cars. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but conviction rose in his chest. This wasn't just about running a dealership. It was about building a culture where human worth comes first, and Darryl Carter was ready to lead that journey. Golden twilight draped over Scottsdale, softer than the harsh midday sun. The showroom's glass doors eased open. Outside air drifted in, carrying dust and the dry scent of heat. A woman around 68 entered. Her steps weren't quick, but they were sure. Her silver hair was neatly tied back, a few strands, falling across her forehead and catching the light like real silver. She wore a simple cream sweater and carried an old leather handbag, the strap wrinkled and faded. Her face was kind, but her eyes held alertness and experience, the eyes of someone who'd weathered many ups and downs and learned not to judge by appearances. The showroom paused. After the tense meeting, no one had quite caught their breath. Her arrival felt like a fresh current of air. A few employees glanced over, then turned away, assuming she was just a passerby. From a distance, Susan still reeled from Daryl's reprimand. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from shame that hadn't yet faded. Her gaze stopped at the woman's thin hand resting lightly on the hood of a black sedan, a hand that trembled with age yet moved with care and reverence. For a moment, Susan saw her late mother, who had once placed her hand just so, touching luxuries she never dared to dream of. Susan swallowed, set aside her usual authoritative posture, and approached, her voice strangely gentle. "Susan, soft, sincere, would you like to sit where it's cooler, ma'am? If the sun is too harsh, we could move to that table over there." The woman smiled, a little tired but warm, like a smile meant for family. "Evelyn, I only have a few questions. This car, does it have lower back heated seats? And the lane departure warning, are the letters large enough for these old eyes?" The question lodged in Susan's throat. It wasn't a challenge, not contempt, just an honest human need. Her nose stung. She opened the car door and invited Evelyn to sit. Lowering her voice, almost a whisper, as if speaking to her own mother, she said, "Susan, please lean back. I'll adjust the heat level one step at a time. Tell me when it feels right." When Evelyn reclined, her eyes fluttered shut. A small smile curved at her lips, a smile that made Susan's eyes suddenly prickle. For the first time that day, she felt she wasn't a manager, but a person serving another person. Evelyn asked about the display. Susan bent down patiently, increased the contrast, explaining each button. Her voice trembled out of emotion, not fear. From the glass office above, Daryl watched. He saw Susan's hands that had gripped a clipboard like power that very morning, now trembling as they gently adjusted a seat for an elderly guest. He saw the softness in her eyes. In that instant, he understood Susan had changed not by order, but by touching something real: compassion. Evelyn took a short test drive. When she returned, she placed her hands on the wheel, eyes shining as if holding something larger than the purchase of a car. "Evelyn, how long have you worked here?" Susan drew a deep breath, throat tight. "Susan, almost 10 years. But today might be the day I remember for the rest of my life." Evelyn nodded, opened her bag, and set an envelope on the table. The Aurora Hospitality Group logo stood out clearly. Evelyn, warm, deliberate. "I'm the procurement advisor for a chain of resorts in Scottsdale, Phoenix, and Sedona. We're preparing to replace our VIP fleet, about 20 vehicles. I came today not wanting anyone to know who I was. I wanted to see how this place truly treats customers." Whispers spread through the showroom. Susan froze. For a moment she wanted to defend herself, but tears welled. She bowed her head, hand over her chest, voice shaking. "Susan, this morning, I made a mistake. I let prejudice override my duty. But with you, I want to make it right. I'll personally oversee the order, print large type manuals, and train the drivers to serve you and your guests properly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm only asking for a chance to prove myself." Evelyn's eyes softened. She placed her hand over Susan's, a maternal, steady gesture. "Evelyn, I don't demand perfection. I just need to see someone willing to change. And today I have." Susan broke down, unable to hold back. These were no longer the tears of a powerful manager, but of someone rediscovering the true meaning of her work. Daryl stepped out and stood beside the two women, one trembling, one smiling. He set a hand on Susan's shoulder, gaze both firm and kind. "Daryl, if you're willing, Evelyn, Susan will lead this entire project. I believe in second chances." Evelyn shook Daryl's hand, then turned to Susan. Her smile, like the sunset outside, warm, gentle, promising a new beginning. "Evelyn, then let's start with 4 cars first. If everything is as you say, we'll make it 20. The showroom seemed to burst open, subtle applause nods, soft exclamations. Susan quickly wiped her tears, but the smile on her lips shone brighter than at any time that day. In the end, the story at Prestige Motors wasn't just about luxury cars or the power hidden behind a hoodie. It was a reminder that arrogance and snap judgments can cost us our greatest value, respect for others. Susan, immaculate in her suit, once believed she understood every customer. But that confidence became a trap that forced her to face a bitter truth. Meanwhile, Daryl in simple clothes proved that true strength lies not in appearance, but in character and how we treat people. Between these two extremes, one lesson resounded. Prestige isn't only in the product you sell. It's in the way you see and honor every person who walks through your doors. What do you think of this story? If you stood before a customer dressed simply, how would you see them? Share your thoughts below. Your perspective may be the reminder we all need. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story.